Cousin Jared, we just wrapped up week 22 of the baseball season. A grade plays, 8% ROI last week. That makes it officially 17 of the 22 weeks A grades profitable. I don't want to say baseball's too easy, but it's just always so good to us. And
it's almost
always,
like
it is.
Yeah.
It is. And there's always some ups and downs, but the ups are always better than the downs. And I was very blessed to be able to build Sideline and allow us to profit off of it. And it's always exciting to enter football season and always a little sad to leave baseball. Baseball's a grind, but it's always good to our pockets, you know?
Yeah, and I feel like it's really in your wheelhouse because, as we say all the time, this is like a statistics show, honestly. And I feel like it's a little less a statistics show when you get into some of the other sports. And so this one is like not only an area where you feel most comfortable, but obviously, where you feel most comfortable and where we are mostly profitable. And so, it's just kind of a sweet spot, I guess.
It is. And there's all the math, and especially doing the money lines in college basketball. And it's a lot in college football too. We just don't talk as much about it, right? And I don't know, maybe that's on. Maybe we should do a better job of that. I don't know.
And it's with college football, it's super clustered. Like all of the math clustered around certain numbers, and so then it's like, how many times can you say 3 is the most important number in college football? 3.5 is very valuable. 2.5 is like nothing, and so you can only say the same thing so many different ways, I guess.
Yeah. And it's also overdrawn math with spreads where it's like everyone knows 52.4%, right? But baseball, these money line markets, I always just have talked about so much how these money line markets are so profitable. That's my bread and butter, and that's how we are making money. So again, remember, if you're not with us already on Dub Club, sign up link in the show description. Because there are no Monday baseball games during the day here, but I do like the early first pitch, the 6:40 Eastern first pitch. Get it going a little bit early for us, at least is better. We'll have a nice night in Detroit, around 70 degrees to start, mid 60s to close, slight breeze blowing out, but the cooler temperatures, especially for August, is going to make this park play very neutral. Luis Severino and Reese Olson, you can see the ratings on screen. Severino's ERA this year is 7.26, and that is incredible. He's not that bad. The underlying metrics say it should be better, but his FIP is in the 6s and his XFIP's in the 5s. It's not pretty. There's a reason why his grade is so low. Y'all have heard me talk about Reese Olson, one of the rookies who gets an average grade. I like him relative to his expectations. I don't think he's as good as Hunter Brown, for instance, as a rookie, or I don't know, pick another rookie pitcher, right? That's done well. I just think he's better than that 5.29 ERA. The advanced metrics says ERA should be around 4. I think he's better than we think when we look at him. He's not a bad pitcher. And right now, a lot of people are having success against the Yankees. That's where we're heading with this. Tigers minus 107 is an A grade. Pick model says they win 56% of the time, and minus 111 gets us to that A grade. We're going to take them at minus 107, so slightly better. Model says it should be minus 128. Cousin Jared, what do you got?
Reese Olson, perfectly average. Luis Severino, perfectly terrible this season. And all of those metrics that you just talked about was before his last start, where he went like 6 1/3 scoreless against the Nationals. And so that actually helped a lot of those metrics. And so it was even worse before. But even in that start against the Nationals, where he pitched over 6 innings, he still only struck out 2 people. So we've talked a lot about the time, strikeouts, one of the things that the pitchers control most. Had a lot of balls in play in that game. They just happened to be going right. 2 people got some double plays and things like that. So, I think this is just a thing where the Yankees, we all know how bad the Yankees have been playing. The national media has told us what a terrible job the Yankees have, how terrible the Yankees have been. All the Yankees fans have been telling us how terrible the Yankees have been. I'm wondering if the Yankees might start, might actually be believing at this point that they're not very good at baseball with how they've been playing. And then you get to fade Luis Severino. This is great. 9-2. You and your guests on this show are 9-2 when backing the Tigers this season. So let's make that 10-2 because I love the Tigers here.
I like it. This is one of my 2 favorite picks of the day. Then, of course, the A+ play of the day, which you can get as part of the Dub Club package. Or if you just want the A+ play of the day, there's a link in the show description for that. You made a great point there about Luis Severino. His ERA on his last start, pitching really well against the Nationals, dropped from 7.98 to 7.26, but his FIP only dropped from 6.81 to 6.52. which kind of goes to show exactly what you were talking about, that he pitched well, sure, but his FIP lowered by a lot less than his ERA, which kind of said maybe he didn't pitch quite as well as the earned innings and earned runs would suggest. That when you look at it, it was a good start relative to where he was, but it wasn't necessarily like, something to write home about. This Tigers offense is not fantastic by any stretch of the imagination, but they've pitched well this year. And they've kind of overperformed, I think, the expectations. Last I looked, they were the Guardians were closer to the Tigers. The Tigers were closer to third, or excuse me, second place than the Guardians were to catching the Twins. So not that the Tigers really have a chance in the AL Central, but hanging around at least to be mediocre. Better than two of the teams in that division at least. Tigers have been a team that's done okay, I guess, for the most part, again, relative to expectations. So -107 gets that A grade. Which takes us to the Rangers and the Mets. Rangers, I believe, had lost 7 in a row before escaping with a win Saturday. Lost on Sunday in a game that just would not end.
Yeah, I think it was 13 innings, something like that.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Playing a Mets team that's been up and down, more down than up, of course. Offensively, the Rangers' offense is better. I mean, a massive starting pitcher mismatch, which is, I can tell you, Cousin Jared, I know that's exactly why you picked this. You do love your starting pitcher mismatches here. John Gray versus Tyler McGill. ERA difference about 2. Underlying metrics suggest maybe it should be a little bit closer than that, but make no bones about this. This is a big mismatch, and the Rangers relievers are decent. The Mets bullpen has been really rocky all season long. Model says the Rangers win 62% of the time, and that should be priced. They should be priced at -166. A grade price, according to Sideline, -144. We're getting them at -148, so a B grade just outside of the threshold for an A grade, kind of a B plus grade, closer to an A than to a C. Cousin Jared, other than the starting pitching mismatch, is there anything else that you like about it, or is that the main area that you're going to here?
That's the main area I'm going to here, but I also like that the Rangers have a 117 offensive projection against right-handed starters. The Rangers definitely, they have not a huge gap. They're still above average against lefties, but they're very good against right-handed starting pitching. So I like that aspect of it as well. And I think that, rightfully so, the Rangers and Astros have been duking it out for leading the AL West all season, and all of a sudden they both go on skids, and now you look up and the Mariners are leading the division. And
sole possession of first place.
Yeah, and so this is one of those things where I feel like everybody's just kind of getting a little bit too carried away with how bad the Astros and Rangers have been playing. They've been playing bad, also some bad luck, and so I think it's just a slight overreaction, and the Rangers have edges everywhere you look in this game. So yes, sign me up. This Rangers team is not going to be on a skid for the rest of the season. I think this is when they turn around on Monday.
And a tough stretch for the Rangers. We talked about them playing the Brewers and getting some of their better pitchers. Facing the Diamondbacks, getting a couple of their better pitchers. The Diamondbacks been playing really well as of late. They've been kind of up and down this season as well. After that real rough summer, they had been playing really well lately. And the Twins, who've been a solid team. Again, a team that probably should be doing better than they are, but still got a lot of talent on that team. And they faced a lot of good pitchers. They faced, Pablo Lopez and Zach Gallen and, some decent pitchers. And
I think they got Burns maybe in that Milwaukee series.
I think they got Peralta. I don't know if they got him, but they got at least 2 of their big 3. I think they got, if Joe Ryan came back, Bailey Ober's been pitching really well for the Twins. It's just on and on the list. They faced some pretty good pitchers, and then you look up here and it's Tyler McGill. It's not a good pitcher. And so that's, I think, the big difference is that you can't ignore how a team's played lately, absolutely, but we do need to keep it in perspective, and the pitching that they've been facing is drastically different than this one. And so that's, I think, why this is a pretty smart pick here on the Rangers. Cousin Jared, the AL West race reminds me of, the hot dog race, the president's race, the whatever race, where the 2 guys get out in front and they start fighting, and then the one in third comes from behind and wins, and everyone's like, oh, where did he go? And as a fan, you're watching, you're like, at the beginning, you're like, the one in third is going to win. Like,
Yeah.
That's exactly what's happened here with the Mariners.
Well, I have to say, what was I saying before the season started? That the Mariners were the team that scared me most in the AL West. Yeah. But I do have to admit that they kind of pulled the rug out from under me, because about 2 months into the season, I was not quite as concerned about the Mariners, but all of a sudden I am concerned about the Mariners now. But if you would have told me that this is how this division would have played out at the beginning of the season, with these three teams being at the top, I would have said, yeah, this is exactly what I would have expected. It's just not what I would have expected 2 months ago.
Asterisk, if you had told me this is how it would play out and the Astros would have every conceivable form of injury basically possible, I would agree with that. If the Astros would stay healthy, I think they were the team that should have won this division. But given how many innings the Astros have had from guys that coming into the season, we were like, wait, who? Like, this guy's going to be like that, I think has been, and in bats too, with all the injuries they've had. So that's the caveat there. The Mariners are the 2023 MLB version of the meme, the call an ambulance, but not for me. That was the call an ambulance was definitely for the Mariners. The season was terrible, the disappointing off of last year. Last year was so good and the fan base was so riled up, and then this is just no, and then all of a sudden it's like, haha, I got you. They've been playing some really good baseball, but we were on the Mariners all last year, and this year I'm going to say we never doubted them. We knew all along that they would be up there at the top of the division. We never said a bad word about them. We don't sweat every single game of theirs, because even when they win, they make it scary. None of those things happen. We've believed them the whole time. 7:40 p.m. Eastern. Guardians and those aforementioned Twins. I mentioned this before, right? The model just does not like the Guardians. Javion Curry and Kenta Maeda is the difference maker in this one, along with the offenses. As the Guardians, they put up a bunch of runs here on the Jays on Sunday, and that's the things that we have to remember. Major league offenses are still major league hitters, right? They're still not terrible. And so when we say the Guardians offense is not very good, we mean relative to average, relative to hitters that perform more often. They still can score runs, and they did here against the Blue Jays a time or two this weekend. The Twins offense, though, should be much better, and the pitching should be much better here. That when you look at the ERAs between these two pitchers, Curry has the lower ERA, but the advanced metrics suggest that Maeda has actually pitched better this year. On top of that, using last year's data even makes that difference stronger. So two teams with decent relievers, but the Twins at home with the better offense and the better starting pitcher should be favored by more than they are. We're taking the Twins minus 159 as an A grade. Model says it should be minus 222. Anything better than minus 188 is an A, and the Twins win this a nice 69% of the time. Because Jared, what do you got?
You mentioned that the sideline doesn't like the Guardians too much. Sideline has, or we on the show, you and your guests on the show have faded the Guardians 37 times this season, but still have an 11% ROI. Fading the Guardians 37 times. Yeah, that is impressive. The Guardians offense is just not good. I don't know why, but like backing Kenta Maeda, I have enjoyed doing that this season. And I can't tell you the specifics off the top of my head, but I feel like good things happen whenever we back him, especially. And well, I guess that comes with caveats because he's made a lot of starts against the rest of the AL Central. So I think that would probably make you feel good anytime.
It's always good.
Yeah, and so I like that here. The fact that we get to back Maeda and also fade the Guardians, which has been profitable all season.
Yeah, there's not really much lefty-righty splits to talk about here. Total in this game, interestingly enough, is sitting at 8.5. Model says 9.2. Guardians offense not very good, but the Twins offense is. Is this a situation where you could go over 8.5, or is that not a big enough differential for you to take the over?
It's, as of the time of this recording, that is not a big enough differential for me to take, because we are recording the night before the games. Come check back at Dub Club the morning of the games, get the latest weather pulled in there, and then let's see. At that point, if it were still 8.5 and the projected total was 9.2, then I would be comfortable playing to over. But as of the time of this recording, no, I would not do that.
Didn't mention the first two totals. The projections were basically spot on. Both those totals were 9, and the model projected 9, so it wasn't really interesting to talk about in those first two games. But as we talked about before, always want to get that morning update on the weather. Current situation is that it's going to be slightly warmer than average in Minnesota, especially for a night game here. Low 80s to start, mid 70s to close, and the breeze will be 5 to 10 miles an hour, a little bit out, a little bit to right field. And so that's exactly a great point that you make there about coming back to that morning update on Dub Club, because if the wind shifts to across, this projected total is probably going to be more in the upper 8s. If it shifts to out, truly out, it's probably going to be closer to 9.5 as it is. It's kind of splitting the difference there at 9.2. And so the temperature we have a pretty good idea about, but the wind would actually matter a little bit for this one. So, could be an overplay. Definitely need to look back on the weather, which takes us to our pitcher prop of the day. We've hit 8 of our last 9 here across the last couple of weeks, which has been a lot of fun. Going to take Christian Javier under 5.5 Ks. Cousin Jared, my analysis on this one is very short and sweet. I've long talked about I just have not had much faith in Javier this year. You could see he had some pretty good outings there in his 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th starts of the season. Those were outings that were a lot of good luck. The underlying metrics suggested that he was about to hit a downswing and that he wasn't nearly as good as those early results indicated. And so we started fading him pretty early. Unfortunately, as much as I like the guy and as much as I want him and the Astros to succeed, I think there's just too many innings last year, and his arm is just not the same. It's been a lot of down. You can see a lot of those unders here. He's gone under this number 71% of the time this season. Good Red Sox offense. That's slightly, we're on the better side of average. Doesn't strike out that often. I have no faith in Javier getting enough innings to get to 6 strikeouts. Based off of his strikeouts per 9 and the Red Sox strikeouts per 9, to get to 6 strikeouts, I think he reasonably needs to go 7 innings. And I can't tell you the last time he's gone 7 innings. I think it's maybe only happened once this season. I wouldn't be surprised. It's more likely that Javier gets pulled in the 3rd than it is that he gets 7, unfortunately.
Well, and you're right, because the projected total in this game is over 10 runs as of this moment. And so, yeah, it's completely possible that he gets run early in this game. This just seems to be like a perfect combination of things that was set up for him to go under 5.5. I mean, I feel like it tells you something. You got 2 Astros fans sitting here telling you to take this under. 2 guys that may have watched him more than most people out there. Yeah. But again, this game just sets up for a lot of runs anyway. And so even if he had a reasonable outing, he may only go 4 or 5 innings. And I mean, just based on what we've seen this season, he's not getting the 5.5 strikeouts in that many innings.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been under 9 Ks per 9. The Red Sox, again, don't strike out a lot. So he's going to have to go either have an incredible start or go a lot of innings. And there's just a lot of ways he doesn't go a lot of innings, either by him or just by the park. Like you said, we have a hitter-friendly ballpark, good offenses. I mean, this sets up to be a high-scoring game. The Astros score a lot of runs in Javier starts, so it should be a fun one. Either way, it seems like it is always entertaining every time he takes the hill. But not impossible for him to get there, but it just seems really unlikely. This number to me should be set at 4.5. I know it's juice to the under. I don't mind the juice. I think it's just really a strong play. And I sent this out to the Discord. Again, might be at 4.5 in the morning. I have no idea if it is or not. It just doesn't seem like it's the right number. This is kind of the exact same thing I said about Strider, who we took whatever it was, over 8.5. I said it should be 9.5, makes you think. A lot tougher there. And he gets to 9. Same thing here. Like, this should be 4.5. I'm not sure he gets to 4.5, but I really don't think he gets to 5.5.
And I mean, and the Astros blew out the Tigers the past 2 days. They've probably only got one guy that's not available. Ryan Stanek's probably the only guy that's not available out of the bullpen. They could easily have a quick hook on Javier. So, yeah.
Question is Maldonado available after the inning he threw on Saturday? I think that's the big
Probably
question.
so. Probably so.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that's obviously the fun one. If you want to see all of the plus expected value plays, all the metrics, all the data on Outlier, Outlier.bet/professor, get you a free 7-day trial. Go check that out. That sign up link also in the show description. And that will do it for our show. Cousin Jared, any parting words for People's Monday other than go check out Week 1 college football? We were profitable in Week 0, and we're hoping to make another profit here in Week 1.
Okay, took the words out of my mouth. I'm excited to watch this AL Central. I'm excited to watch this AL Central race.
AL Central race.
AL Central. Excuse me. God, it's poisoned my brain just like it's poisoned the rest of baseball. AL West.
AL West. Yeah. I mean, the AL Central is kind of a poison to baseball. So that
yes.
And AL Central race too. I feel like that's probably good. I haven't checked back on it as much, but I feel like the Cubs, Reds, and Brewers are just a kind of a hot mess too. I think we got the NL Central and the AL West and like the 2 real interesting races. And of course, the wild card stuff should be fun.
Yep.
important games for a lot of these teams coming down the stretch in September. Cousin Jared, is that going to affect how you play these games in September, thinking about what matters to teams as we enter the stretch and who's giving up? We start thinking about that for sure the last week of the season. When is that going to start creeping into your brain specifically?
Not until the very last week of the season, or maybe the last series of the season, because I feel like we've been down this road before, and you start thinking like that, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. That's people always like to talk about needing this game or whatever. And I'm just reminded of last year. I've mentioned this before, but on the last day of the season, there were some massive edges where people were fading teams that, just didn't need to win or something. Didn't care. Yeah. And they still won anyway. And so I'm curious to see if the same thing will happen this year. That was obviously only the sample size of, there were 16 games on the last day of the season last year. But again, remember, a lot of these guys are playing for a job for next year. There's only certain situations and players that might really be mailing it in. Of course, the Yankees, one of those question mark teams, of course, as they bring up younger players, those are guys who are really fighting hard, playing for a job. You got a guy like Michael King looking to make a spot in the rotation, all those young position players looking to find spots. So definitely most of these guys will be playing hard. So just curious your thoughts there as we head towards September. Hopefully we can have another profitable September. I feel like the last couple of years, September's been a really good month for us. It's maybe people are overthinking things and just trusting the math has been a good thing for us.
Yep, I agree.
All right. Well, thank you for tuning into this episode of Picks with the Professor. Don't forget to subscribe so you can ensure the sports betting content provided on this channel is right into your feed. We'll be back again tomorrow with more baseball betting content. But until then, as always, best of luck. And remember, you can eat your betting money, but please don't bet your eating money.